Hi there viewers, I'm the Extraordinary Tourist and welcome to this speed draw of my Cool Style Penguins t-shirt design. As you can see here, I'm laying down my very first idea for this penguin design for the t-shirt. If you haven't seen the previous video that I did for this, where I go into this design session in much more detail and you can hear what I'm thinking, this particular design is inspired by my board Yeti Skateboard designs, which you can see on my Yeti Skateboards website. Those particular designs were of a Yeti that I designed, and along with the Yeti was these two penguins who the Yeti was harassing. And I actually like the character design of the penguins and thought they'd make great subjects for a particular t-shirt, like a humorous type of t-shirt. And I was sort of thinking about the idea of penguins always look like they're wearing tuxedos and whatever, and I was imagining, well, what if the black feathers on a penguin were actually like a tuxedo suit jacket or something along those lines. So that's where this particular concept came, with the two penguins, one being helped on with his jacket by the other penguin, who is sort of perhaps either a friend or possibly even a butler type character, helping the penguin get into his jacket before, say, a night out on the town. I was thinking possibly could be a butler, because partway through this third revision of the sketch, where I'm sort of trying to get my ideas down, sort of thought it would get the idea across even more if I put like a top hat or something on this penguin that was getting ready to go out. You can see me sort of rough one in just there. So from initial concept to the final sketch that I went with, it only took me 4 drawings, and you can see I'm working on the last one just here. The drawing above that I did third, I pretty much liked that one, but I felt there wasn't enough distance between the two penguins so that you could really get an idea that the second penguin was holding a jacket and was putting it actually onto the penguin. So I just wanted to space them apart a bit so that you could get a good sort of silhouette composition of that. And I also wanted to sort of flesh out that idea of the top hat a little bit more, so that's what I did as well. And I was actually, as I said, I was quite happy with how the design came out, and always from the very start I always planned to have them in some kind of circular background. Originally that background was going to be like snow and ice, similar to the board Yeti design from the skateboard, but as you'll see later on, I sort of decided against that and went for a much simpler background so that your focus would remain on the two penguins. And here you can see that from the sketch I actually just took this into Clip Studio Paint, or is it Clip Paint Studio? I can never remember which way around that goes, and did all my inking in that software. And all of these ink lines are actually vector lines, they're not sort of raster bitmap images. And the reason I do that is because it allows me to really edit the lines with a lot more flexibility once I've done all the actual outlines. I actually did record myself drawing the initial black outlines, or I attempted to, and then discovered that I hadn't pressed the record button, so you didn't actually see me do the initial black outlines. But what you can see me doing here is sort of thickening up various sections of the lines, and this is why I use vectors, because it allows me to just quickly outline everything, and then I can easily go back and thicken up those lines that I need and adjust it without sort of having to constantly erase or try to trace around my original lines. It just makes everything so much easier. And also, like, once I've done my thickened lines, I can actually go back in and taper out edges and whatever, so that the ends of the lines can go to a point and those kinds of things. You can see here I just did a new layer for the colours, which is, I wanted to keep the colouring fairly simple, so it would be a fairly strong t-shirt design that would stand out. It doesn't need a lot of detail really, and it's fairly faithful to the colouring of the penguins on the very first skateboard deck design that I did featuring them, with the sort of grey and white design rather than the black and white design that I did on the Mark II version of the skateboard. And all this shading here, that's not vectors, that's done with raster shading on a separate layer again. I do all my colouring with raster drawing, because that's just generally easier and you can do a lot more with it. If you wanted to, you could do like gradients and stuff much easier, but having all the line work as vectors gives you a lot more flexibility when it comes to resizing the drawing and keeping the edges crisp and sharp. So anyway, as you can see as well, this view is actually of my drawing tablet that I use, which is a Pablo Coast, I think it's a Pablo Coast 33 drawing tablet. It's a 21.5 inch drawing tablet, and I'm actually shooting this with my GoPro, hence the sort of distorted view from above here. This is the same actual view that I shot the sketching from on my desk of the penguins, and I just moved my monitor down underneath it and shot what the camera saw, just so you could get this sort of more interesting view rather than just constantly looking directly at a screen capture of me working on the screen. You can sort of see there me using the pen. That's that. I just did a little bit more shading that was sort of along the same lines as the shading that I have on my board Yeti skateboards. It's very simple, just a bit of blue colouring, just in the white areas there, just to give the characters a bit more of a three-dimensional look to them. Not quite so flat, but not particularly realistic. I wanted to keep that cartoony style as well. Adding a few highlights here just to finish that design off. And where did I go from there? I think I started thinking a bit more about the background and getting that circle background back in. At this point I was still thinking about doing the snow and ice background, but it was around about this point that I decided no, I just wanted to keep the penguins as the feature and just give them a very simple background. So I used the circle tool or circle ruler in Clip Paint Studio to position everything, and just drew a circle and filled it in with blue for the blue sky that was sort of reminiscent of the same blue sky that's in the skateboard designs. You can see here just doing the outline as a vector and simplifying that, joining it up. And once I got that into position, there we go. getting that into the spot, adding the blue, and then deciding at that point that maybe just a white gradient to hint at the ground was all that needed. And from there I wasn't actually going to add any words to this design, but I was looking at it and I felt that it just needed some kind of caption to go with it, and you don't actually sort of see me adding the type in this particular speed paint because, as I said originally, I didn't think I was going to have words, so I didn't actually record myself designing the lettering. But I came up with the words cool style, which I thought was a good sort of fairly generic caption that sort of said something about the design, with the penguin having cool style and whatever, and also the wearer perhaps wearing this t-shirt having cool style as well. So there you go, that's the finished design on a t-shirt, and I hope you've enjoyed seeing this particular design come together as a speed draw. So until next time, I will see you later. Bye for now.